So I'm here again to talk about Orchard Harvest Conference. If you can please open the web page, I would like to show the full program for the participants. Yes, thank you. So here we have the speakers, and after that you can see.
After that, oh, the
yeah. After that, yeah, you can see the whole program for the 2 days. We have many interesting topics, and you can still get your early bird prize tickets for the conference. If you haven't purchased it and you are still thinking about joining us. And I would like to also mention that I really appreciate that a lot of you reposted my posts on, for example, on LinkedIn. I really appreciate it, and please continue to do that so we can reach more people who might be interested in our conference.
And title is wrong. There is no such thing as ASP.NET Aspire. It's called Aspire. There is no ASP or .NET before. It's Aspire. That's okay, but I mean, I'm nitpicking.
Yeah, and I'm also here if you have any questions regarding the conference.
That's a lot of speakers in one day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 6 p.m. Wow. It's more than what I work in one day.
Yeah, but we have a long lunch break, and also we have a lot of interesting topics to cover.
Break.
And the coffee break as well.
Cool.
And also, so this year I paid attention to have a little bit longer breaks between two sessions, so you will have time to connect and have some rest between two sessions.
Cool. Awesome topics.
Yes, so please still repost my posts and also invite your partners or your colleagues to join our event.
Just a bunch of old white dudes. Look at that. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
So many speakers. 9. Oh, wait. Well. Awesome. Oh, harvest repost. What else? What else do we have? Okay, let's go back to demos. I'm sure people have demos today. Nobody has demos today. So sad. What do we have? What do we have? Status. Let's look at the status. I will look at Orchard 1, lots of activity on Orchard 1. What's happening? So the 20. Why the 25th? Did I make a mistake last time?
You did. It's 23rd.
Thank you. 23rd. So we saw the commits from Benedek. We still have more commits from Benedek, fixing all the things, merging the stuff, one 10x into dev stuff. Navigation, the PR was merged. Portrait layout bootstrap for columns. Fix. Yeah, because recently there were issues on CSS, grids, and whatever. I don't remember what it was, but it made me think about that thing that we just have in Orchard 1. I believe we also had something like this in Orchard Core, like a custom kind of CSS. I think we have that, right? A custom CSS or maybe Bootstrap mixins that you can customize in the admin theme. This was a custom CSS that we made. Or maybe this one is just Bootstrap and we have the same thing also. Okay, the generic one. So fixing Bootstrap 4 and package workflow. So the GitHub Actions is new in option 1. All the branches have that now, and managing branches, including jQuery changes. Okay, this is the merge branch dev into upgrade. Maybe a PR that is getting up to date with the latest changes. Okay, so Benedict is working hard. I'm sure he wants to announce 1.10.11 or 1.11, sorry, 1.11 for Fortune 1 during the harvest. I would guess. So I haven't talked to him, but he's working hard and he's doing the what's the name of the first the keynote of harvest. Cool. So what do we have here? 23rd. What branch am I on? Old one. Old one. 23rd here. So that archive later docs. Yeah, there were I think discussions about how it's supposed to work. Maybe that's related. But no, there was no docs for that. That's the ability to schedule content items to be archived at an given future date and time. Attach the archive later part when the content type where you want the feature to be available. Perfect. And a new page doc. Good job. Prefix IDs generated from grids with a letter. Haha. So we did generate something without, which is interesting because the grids, they should all start right now with the same char, which is not suitable. Let's see.
Yeah, something in ASP.NET replaces the first character with a Z. So I took the same here.
And then removes the dashes. I don't recall if it's also lowercasing. It's possible.
That's kept as before.
Yeah, but do you know if it's lower casing also or not? I don't remember.
I think it is, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think also. So let's say 2, not sure, but we think also true. Okay, good. Thank you. Move alias under prefix to AliasConstants. So a constant. Pretty sure this could take a span here. So we will do a span search, get a span, and follow a span, so we don't have to do an allocation. But it will be a breaking change, maybe, or maybe not, because if it's taking a string, passing a span should work now. Same thing, constant and constant, because it's everywhere. Typical me. And George would agree that there will be less allocations, right? Because now it's a constant.
No, it will not.
I'm teasing you. No, it won't be less allocation. It's in turn at compile time, but not in turn at runtime, which was the case in .NET framework, but not .NET Core. And this one, though, let me see. I saw a concatenation. What is this concatenation I saw?
It's actually better than the interpolated string, but whatever.
That's not equivalent. Because there was a separator before for the tag.
It is included in the alias in the constant.
Oh,
yes, included it.
Oh, good. So, oh, and before we also had it there. I see. Interesting. Good. Forgot about it. In your case. Okay, this is just for the handle if it's okay. Different casing to match. Interesting. Awesome. Add logging to HttpBackgroundJob. Did you notice some issue? And you want to know why?
Yeah, there's an issue we'll look at maybe at the end of this. An issue we can't explain.
It's in one PR, but this is just some safeguard to see if it's something not wrong.
That's a lot of resolved loggers from the same method.
Yeah, but it should not resolve it if it's not used.
Well, the HTTP background job. I'm sure there is one running all the time in Node, isn't it?
No, this is kind of a weird thing, which just spawns a fire and forget task. It's not a background service like the other things.
Nothing. The different branch release to correlate task fix. Yeah, there wasn't a ref exception, I remember. So this is backported. Checking if the directory exists before deleting it. Oh, a big change. No, that's not a big change. That's the optimization.
No, it's the backport of the change and
Oh, the feature versus shape templates. Okay.
correct.
Let's break the world
Yes.
or fix them. Elasticsearch update. Fix own permission check. This part. Oh. Yeah, not a fan. Feels like 2 years ago back again. And Mike was adding extension methods for everything.
No, it's actually pretty good, this one. This one, what it does, it just creates a content item without firing all the unnecessary handlers just to set the owner. So it's actually a good one. It just saves.
Well,
The performance is good.
do you suggest your other ones are not good?
Well, no, the other one, it's basically essentially calling content manager.new, but content manager.new will invoke a lot of handlers. In this case, they're not really necessary because in this case, all we're doing is just doing permission check. So really, we don't really need the overhead of calling the handler in this case. All we really need is a content item that has a content type and has an owner value. That's it. So that method, which already existed, it allow you to create a content type that just sets the owner.
So already existing, meaning you made this one a long time ago.
Years ago, yeah.
Yeah. That's why it felt familiar, that yet another extension method for a dedicated thing. Where my code, which I probably wrote here, is more like, I don't want to add, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, like concept overload or more things to learn.
Yeah, I mean, we could have
don't worry.
also replaced all this and just say new content item. Here's the content type manually. Here's the owner, and then pass it into the check. It's the same thing.
I'm curious about what this is doing compared to that. So it's not going new. So what is this doing? Let's be there. And a new content item. It's creating a new content item with the type and the owner. And calling my files. And here we invoke the content manager. Okay. Yeah, I would not suggest to use that everywhere, but just where you know that the only properties you care about is the item type and the owner.
Yeah, that's the only time to use that method. You can't really use it elsewhere. So anywhere you just using it, you're creating content item only for validation.
Yeah,
You do it, which this one hides the details because you don't really want
content type.
Yeah.
You say you just really want to check the content type and nothing else in the content item.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
So you agree it's a good method or no?
Yes, no, I was not talking about the content of the method, just the fact that there is more like there is an extension method to do that instead of new content item with the owner and the type, authorization. Just for not having yet another method that it's not obvious what it does until you go inside. Like, like me, I know Orchard a little, and I don't know what it's doing. And I don't know if it's doing the correct thing just by looking at the name. Now that I see the code, I understand what it does. I understand what the name means because I see the code. I understand the differences between what it does and the previous thing. I personally would have understood better if it was creating a content item here and invoking authorization. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, the name makes sense, but maybe it doesn't make enough sense.
Not very clear, yeah.
Because I'm afraid that people, and independently of this method or not this method, I'm afraid that people don't understand the difference between authorizing a content item that is completely generated using the manager, or that is just a mock content item like this. And because I myself, I just realized that that's the difference here. That before, the authorize will invoke handlers for authorization that can check anything about the content item, like is the color in the field, blah blah blah, clear enough. That's something we could implement with the handler. But this you will not be able to do because this content item doesn't have the color of the whatever field. It just has a type and an owner. So the only thing you can check is on the type or the owner.
Correct,
Which
but
is
also
good
this
here.
right here, this content item, we're not passing anywhere. So it's only used for this valid check only, a single check. So it makes sense to use it in this case.
I would say it's valid if the method that you are calling and trying to protect, whatever you're trying to protect, only cares about the type and or the owner.
Yeah, which is why we have our own permission, the edit content permission.
Search users. What is search users? What's the relationship between search users and authorize on the content item?
Well, this one allows you to search for the users in a content picker. So if you don't have permission to edit content, you can't search within
okay, this is search users who can edit some content, field or part. Okay, so that's why you want. Okay, good. Yeah, be careful with that. But at the same time, it's a new one. So I believe that whatever we do for authorization on a new content item is fine to use this method because a new content item, we just have default values. There is no more context to add than just what you did here, a new naked content item with two properties versus all the handlers. Okay, that's cool. That's not easy. Sometimes it seems easy, but no, there are lots of unknown reasons to do things. Uh-oh. Why is that?
It is part of a handler, so we don't really need that anymore.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I would not have initialized an inline content item with a name, with a type, and the thing. That would have been fine for me too. Good. Release 2.2.1. What is that? Updates. Rendering updates. Okay. 2.2.1. So because we ship 2.2.0. And finally, user display name shape. So you don't see me, but I'm not looking at the files which are updated. I don't want to look at the files that are updated. And before I look at the files that are updated, I would hope that all the views that use that are only on the admin side. Now let's reveal. So admin dashboard, audit trail views, admin.
This right here, there is something I would have hoped to accomplish,
Where?
but I didn't see a way. In the shape, in the tag helper.
Let me finish my first check first before
Sure.
I want.
Finish.
So this is the definition of the shape. Admin. What is that thing? Maybe that's related. Okay. Extensions. Tag helper. That's different. We'll see later. That's the tag helper. Okay, I have two questions. And there is two and a half questions. Okay, what were you saying?
So you see, if you go back to tag helper, what this is doing essentially is creating a shape.
This one?
The tag helper. Yeah, this one, the user tag helper. So what this one essentially is doing is creating a shape. Okay. And it's creating that shape. And now anybody that wants to hook into that shape, they can. So what I have to do in this setup is I had to create a table, shape table handler that would listen for that shape and then inject a text into it. So we're rendering items within that shape. So, you know, one shape can have multiple inner objects, and then we're displaying it. So by default, we're injecting a single item, which is the text. Now, if someone wants to change the output, what they have to do is suspend the text and then inject their own. So that's what I kind of don't like. What I wish we had a way of doing, maybe there is, instead of rendering a shape, like a regular shape, render some sort of a shape placement where we can say, here's a thing that you can place content in it, or you can do another zone, right? Tags or whatever. and then have something else that injecting into a specific zone instead of having to inject into the shape items, if that makes any sense.
One second. Yeah, I think this tag helper is wrong, but I believe you just copied an existing tag helper, and I don't think that's what a tag helper should do.
No, it's not. It's just calling the base class. So we already have base class that generate the base or the shape. And all you're doing here is just setting properties for the shape and then calling the base method.
No, when you say it's just setting properties for the shape, I'm afraid that it's actually setting properties on the tag that it's rendering.
No, we looked at that last week. You can look at the
Okay.
base shape
And,
tag helper.
So what is output?
That's
tag
the
helper output. When you do
Yep.
attributes.add, you're adding attributes to the tag itself.
Look at the base class, just the class before this one, which is something that existed before.
I made it.
Okay.
I don't remember. I'm sure I would be able to. Maybe I will be able to understand what it does. Let's see. Because I hope I will be able to answer your question. We need to be able to answer this question. Maybe Jean-Thierry did it. Let's see. Base tag helper. Tag helper. So if I go back to understanding what it does, we need to understand that the tag helper is something for Razor. So I will just revert the debug how it works, because I think it's important for myself and hence for others. So where we have a tag helper, for instance, let's call it food. In Razor, okay, we write that. And that thing here will be found by the Razor compiler because it is an helper for the tag. Is that correct? The tag helper. Yeah, we have attributes on the tag helper to say match food. Okay, not this one because it's a base one, but we can say match food. So if I look at your tag helper, yeah, HTML target, we say user display name or user display name. So let's assume that we have foo, or we can write something like this. But I will keep foo. Okay, I keep like a foo tag helper. Not, and when I say foo tag helper, it's not a shape tag helper, but it's like just a tag helper. Something like that. And if I do that, say foo. So when we create a tag helper, the idea is that when a Razor file is parsed and finds something like this, it will invoke the tag helper and it will replace that by, like, if it's razor.html, imagine it's the generated HTML, it will be replaced that my tag attributes 1 and so on. Okay, we can generate what we want and do some async logic to render some content, like what you mentioned, text. We can do that. That's what the tag helper does. Please interrupt me if I'm wrong, or if you have questions. So it reads through and it generates that. And this is the HTML that is rendered. There is no post-processing after that.
I think there is. I think we have a handler that that does like the caching and it does all that. I haven't looked at it in a bit, but I'm pretty sure that's what it does. It takes all these properties and creates the caching.
But you're talking about the base shape tag helper now, not the tag helper. So let's see. Because I don't think in Razor there is something else after
Razor,
tag
no.
helper has been. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I just wanted to be clear about tag helper. What? So I will go back then to the thing here. But that's what the tag helper do. So what do we do now in our base tag helper? And this thing is the process async, okay, which is a tag helper, which does what? It says this is a context and this is the output. So it's a builder of HTML. Output is a builder of HTML, which will build that thing. This output, you say this is your tag, add an attribute, add a value, this is your text, and it will write it asynchronously, process async. Okay, and the context contains all the things that the parser reads from that. Okay, these prefixes are bound with the means, normalized names, what is that? Properties. So the properties, okay, well, then what it is for property. Okay, properties, we say, okay, everything that is on the initial tag helper, like A equals something, B equals something, it's a property that will be there. Then we normalize them, sure. And then, nope, these, okay. Oh, because sometimes we have like something like ASP-A, and then be like, this is a property, and this will be an attribute that needs to remain as is. And we can decide from other attributes what are the properties. Something like that. Prop all, prop dash. What are the prefixes for this attribute? Okay, so properties. If we have a type property here on the base shape tag helper. So the base shape tag helper. If we have a type property, we use this type property. So if someone, so now if we have a my shape tag helper, and if we have a type shape type, because I know there is a shape type, okay? We say here, this thing, we say, create a shape of type datetime and render it. And render it. That's what I think is doing here. Okay, I see what you're doing. Output attributes, cache ID. Interesting. No, try get attribute cache ID. So if here you have a cache ID, say my datetime 1. If you have a cache fixed duration, so far, this is not what you type, but this is something else, okay? And convert to
yeah, it just creates a meta data for the shape.
Yeah.
Doesn't render it like that, but yeah.
And you see shape, and I will say, let's create a shape of this type. And we are still in the processing of the tag helper. Let's instantiate in memory a shape from the properties. If we have alternates wrapper, cache information, let's set it to this shape. And now await shape building, okay? And we put it in an object in memory. Shape, I don't know why, we'll see later probably. Because there are other events that need to access it maybe. And then we say metadata cache, we set the properties of the shape in memory with the caching. And then we say, where is the shape? Okay. Get child content async is from the output. So this thing, I believe, is rendering whatever is inside. Child content async here. If there is something inside, we get it, I believe. or we render it, I don't know. Output, content, set HTML, and then we say we render in place the execution of the shape. So we are calling into the shape rendering, and we say render it with all the properties we set. And then we set tag name equals null, so it doesn't generate any, the helper won't generate any tag. It's our shape that generates it. So here, when we say my shape type time, we get here something like time 10:30. I don't know. Okay, we generate that this is the rendering of the datetime shape. And if there is a cache ID here, we don't see cache ID here. It's not forwarded. It's just used as a metadata on the shape that was used to generate that. And the dynamic caching thing, shape caching, will just say, oh, I already have something that I rendered for the my datetime one ID less than 1 second ago. So I won't need to re-render it in HTML. I can give you the content and it will give me this content. Okay. Or invoking the shape handlers to say, load the data from the database. No, I know the content. This is it. So now when I go back to your change, I don't know if you want to change, if you understand what I think is wrong, but I believe this is wrong. But I don't know. Sorry. Yes. Yes or no? Yes. I believe this is wrong. Do you get why now?
I don't think it's wrong.
Okay. So let's see why.
And I'll tell you why I don't think it's wrong, because what it's doing, it's extracting these objects, it's creating a shape, and it's converting those attributes to a metadata of the shape for caching. And then it's building a new output, not your standard razor.
That. Now I get it. So because you invoke the previous one, you're not replacing. Okay, good. Good, good. So you are using these attributes as a way to pass an argument to the code that we just invoked. So when we invoke your process async, you enrich it using this output context. Okay, get it. And then when you invoke the base one, then we go over all the things, we do that. Okay, got it.
But the issue that I wish we can kind of fix or solve for, instead of us creating a shape, create like a shape placement or something where we can have a zone that we can inject into. So we can say, you know, here's a shape helper or table shape table provider that will say we're rendering shape username. Inject this into the content zone,
but
instead of adding as an item.
But I would assume that here, when you do, so let me read this code now to see what it's doing. One second. So you want to extract the username property, attribute in the original tag helper, title, and the display tag. So the usage you do of this shape is to say, did I copy that over here? User display name. So that's the usage, right? And then you say username. Okay, so you write something like this in your Razor. And oh, I wrote it there. That's here. And what you would expect here is something like Mike. Okay.
If I can maybe explain it in a different way, go to the last file, the shape table provider on your list, and I'll try to explain it in a different way.
Yes, shape building. Okay, it's dependent, and you say this one. 1 second. So the type of the shape here is type user display name. That's why you say let's intercept the user display name. The name.
Yeah, and you see how I create another shape and inject it into that user display name,
Okay.
right? Which is I kind of don't like. But the reason why I had to do that is because I want to add an item inside another. So if the user display name instead give me a zone that I can say, hey, inject it into this zone, not as an item, this would be much better for me because I can then control other shapes that go into the name, like avatar, you know, a different name, whatever the case might be. Because if I want to inject an avatar right now, I would have to do the same thing. I would just put it in like a 4 instead of a 5. So the avatar will be on the left of it. But then if I want to replace the actual user display name text, so I would have to suspend the user display name text or create another shape, the user display name text, and overwrite it.
Okay. That's new.
Yeah, that is. It's a virtual method.
I would just imagine that you do that for the alternates, but why would you do that for the tag helper and not for everything here?
Because that's part of the user display name, not part of, I mean, and we could do it here, but what's the point? You're creating a shape here, build everything right to the shape right in here.
But if you create a shape out of the tag helper, then you lose the alternates. If you create it in liquid, or if you create a shape dynamically, not with the tag helper, then you don't have the alternates. So if you move this code in the provider, then because this is where we provide the alternates usually, not in the.
I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay.
And this code here, this one is used only there. And yeah, so no, yeah, that's why you don't need this shape in the Mason. You already have all these events. Yeah, okay. I'm trying to understand still the request and what you're trying to display with your display name. So you do that. So if I look at the template you have today you say you go in all items because you added a dynamic item and you say render it, and then you have the other one, which is the one you generate by default, which is this one. I'm sure there is a solution for sure. It's just to understand what needs to happen. So here,
like instead of having those items, if I have said something zone, you know, display zone content.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's what you want, but let's see. First, I would have imagined that when you do user display name like this, the default behavior, this is what you have today, which is rendering that, okay? It's fine. Right, let's see. Yeah, model.username. So this is a shape, and you say .username. So this is Mike, because the shape has the property username. The shape has the property username here. Properties, is that? No, that's not the property, is it?
It is,
What
yes.
But the properties of the shape itself?
Yes.
How do I, or because it's on the base shape helper?
No, it's because it's a dynamic property. So it's adding it to the shape. See?
Because it's on the base shape helper.
Yeah. And we add it
so,
to the.
And then at some point we add it to the shape. Where?
Yeah, if you look at my shape, my tag helper, and you'll see where I'm setting.
Right? No, it's there. Shape equals a new shape with all
Yes.
its properties.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
And you invoke
I
process async after. Okay, good. So because you add the username to the properties dictionary, it will be inside the shape. Okay, so that's why we have it here. So then username. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this text here is bothering me. So you say that a user displaying shape would have many of that. So I'd say, what do we do today when we want a shape to behave as a zone, like you're trying to suggest?
Display manager. We would create, using a display manager, we would create the shape, which calls the display drivers, and then the display drivers inject into different zones. So that's what we do today.
Not all the time, right? Like if I take the theme today, like the section with the action buttons, whatever, it's not is it a driver? No, it's just,
I don't know.
Oh, it's the zone shape. And then people can inject because it's a zone shape, so they can target. If it were like a zone, what would that, so we have a zone shape today. So if we do, and we have a zone shape tag helper. So if we do zone name equals, I don't remember, but zone 1. Okay, in a razor page, then people can placement stuff in zone 1, and it will be added there. But if it's username, and you want an external thing now to inject something in it, it can't inject it in many of them. Like if you have username and in the same page another username, like which one will it add it to? 2 of them? So that's the reverse dependency. It's not something that needs to inject in username, in user display name. It's user display name when it's rendered that needs to find what needs to be injected. Is your issue about customizing the thing in your theme, in your modules?
Yeah, because if you think, so if you look at the text, right? If I want to inject an avatar, right? I don't want to display the icon in this case, like the FA user, right? I just want to display a username, and then I'm going to have an avatar instead of that icon, correct?
So what you want is, isn't it shape morphing that you want?
No. No.
Let's see how it will look.
No, I'll tell you why. Because let's say I have 2 features. One feature that just changes the name, right? So it's called the username or display name feature. So instead of showing Mike, I wanted to show Michael Hayek, right? That's what that feature does. And in that case, we're going to keep the FA user icon. But now we have another feature, it's called avatar. And if you enable both, now if they're both enabled, I want to show Michael Hayek, but then I want to show an avatar instead of that text. So I want to get rid of.
It's okay. I think you still want shape morphing. So let's do your scenario. You want to both change the thing and the thing, like two things. So these are two different things. So you invoke the shape here, and you don't do that. Or not directly. You don't browse the things. I don't think it's about container stuff. So I might want to split that. But you don't want to split that. Yeah, if you want to be able to change both, then you need to split that. So like you would say, okay, you say display. I don't exactly remember how it works, but let's try. Don't want to lose that. Paste it here. Okay, that's better. So if you do that, and the mandatory, there is a model.clear or something like that. I don't remember, but we have to call something like that at some point before being able to invoke the next one. I don't remember exactly. Alternates, okay, maybe dot alternates. There is something to call.
Yeah, clear alternates. Yeah.
Okay. So if you have that now, okay, forget about your handler that is adding the text and whatever. Just remove the handler that added something inside. The username will be invoked. So it says, okay, first render the icon. So it will invoke that and renders that icon. And then it says, and now with the same properties, username and whatever, render it as a user display name text. And then it will render that. So that's the default behavior. Now your module kicks in and wants to replace the tag for a special alternate, like because for Mike username. So you have user display name, user display icon underscore Mike for the username Mike, .cshtml. And then you can say for user Mike, you say empty. Okay, you just don't render anything. And then you can say text. For this alternate, you can say image, avatar. And if you want to change it for every user, then you just override user display icon and or user display text. That lets you change that independently. You could also say, oh, I just want one thing and you don't need, but you want to be able to change just the icon or just the name, the text part. You could even have a wrapper just in case, like a generic thing that creates a div before and after everything, just in case, but usually it's not necessary. Might not be there. I don't know.
I'm still not sold on the shape morphing in this case, because
Okay.
if what you're saying, which kind of makes sense, so I would have to take the user display name text and morph that, right? which is, it has nothing to do with a user display name. So user display name will still have to go through the items and display every item that is in the collection. And
There is no
then
more collection of items. No, there is no more collection of items. You forget about it. But
no, there is. There is 100%. Because otherwise, how are you going to render the shapes that are being added? You see how this one injects.
What I'm saying is that you
the
don't
shape.
inject. In my solution, you don't inject anything anymore. You remove that.
So you get rid of this. Okay.
There is no more items. There is no more items to navigate to for each. I removed it from the default template. You are just saying when you have a user display name to render, it's based off something that we call icon and we call text. Two things that can be changed independently based on the alternates. Or not, optionally also based on the alternates.
So in this case, you're saying that whole icon and the username, instead of having another file, put it directly in this file. And then in my other project, I would listen for the shape and then morph in.
You don't listen to the shape. In your custom, you have two options. Either you create a file named, so first this file here usually will never be customized in your modules. This is what will handle the morphing of your, model. Why I call item? Sorry, that's why I confused the problem. So model.types, you say, so when in your razor you have that thing now, what will happen is that it will look for how to render user display name. If you didn't override it, it will just do that, which you should do all the time, not override user display name now. You will only override icon and or text. It will say this shape here. Assume it's actually not a user display name, but a user display name icon, render it. And it will look for a template for user display name icon with its alternates. So by default, it will render that. But if in your theme or your module, you say, this is how I render user display name icon, either by having your own file or a handler that will give the text for that, for the icon.
I see. So you're saying in Orchard Core, split text and icon in separate files. Yeah. And then this will allow people to inject whatever icon they want and then whatever text they want.
Yeah. And if they want to inject
that makes sense to me now.
Everything at the same time, not in two files, they can then override this one and say, no, I'm not using morphing anymore. I can just render whatever I want. But usually they would only have to change how to get the text or how to get the icon. Or to say, no more icon, here is the avatar. Or no more text, here is the avatar with the name. Whatever you want.
Yeah, I got it. I understand. Good feedback. Okay, I'll make that change. Thank you.
Then check also for other locations where we do the morphing, because maybe you will see, oh, that's also that's how I wanted to do that, and we didn't realize it was shape morphing.
No, I understand. I understand what we do with morphing. This didn't come to my mind, so that's a good idea. I'll do it. I'll ping you so you can look at that follow-up PR. Hopefully you'll see it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. It's refreshed my mind before. Then liquid, same thing. If you can have a liquid tag for the user display name, that will just render the shape, and that will just fall back then for that. It's just a liquid tag. Don't rely on the liquid shape tag helper that converts any shape tag helper into liquid. Create a custom liquid tag. It's just one line of code. And we are at the top. Any questions, comments? We'll have PR reviews on Thursday. All good? Let me check my chat.
There is maybe one PR that needs triage that we can do that Thursday. I'm not sure if we need to do anything else at the moment.
Let me see. I can do a 2 seconds comment.
Yeah, I've seen one that needs triage. There might be.
Oh, this one.
There's two actually. Two that need triage.
Well, that we can look at on Thursday. That will be interesting to remember why. Maybe for compatibility reasons. Let's see, because we introduced that after the title, and so yeah, you see, that's we have to go back in time to understand the reasons. It's a question of what came first, and we don't have the two of them, and then we have to be backward compatible, and there is some overlap between the two, but yeah, it needs to. I hope it's solving an issue, not just it's inconsistent. This one must be fun. But merge, didn't we look at it last week? Or did I just see it?
No, I think we should talk about this
Oh,
one
we
if
missed.
we have
Oh, we missed the
time.
triage.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. And there's one change from Hisham, which I think we should talk about as
Okay, Thursday there will be triage.
being the HTTP context to the shape context.
Oh. Okay. Cool. Well, thanks for joining. See you on Thursday.
Yes. See
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.
Thanks.